Let's kick off. Indeed, this is a duo, everybody. It's Tino and I very much working together. Well, haven't 2 afternoons passed rapidly? This is a way of looking back at where we were almost 24 hours ago, and our feelings and our thoughts, our ideas about what we wanted to get from our symposium. As you can really see from this exciting word cloud, we really wanted to be inspired. I think that has happened both in sessions, but also in surprising ways, including physical exercise, which was wonderful. Thank you to everyone for joining in on that. So that's another form of networking. We've certainly learned about e-health through the couple of days. And I think there've been many new learnings and many new insights. We had a very thoughtful and a very inspirational keynote talk given to us by Natasha Azzopardi from the WHO Europe. And she gave us a very policy-orientated view of where Europe will go in terms of its more than 50 WHO countries and regions. And clearly, as Giovanni also has emphasized to us, in that digital health partnership that's being founded, there's so much focus on the need for societal and community resilience, despite all the challenges that lie ahead of us and that we will work on together as partners. Exciting that we heard not only about WHO Europe, but also some developments from the OECD. So European and international organizations really working together closely. Tino, therefore, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Diane, and hello, everyone. The second session focused on developing health data ecosystems, and we wanted to start that session with a question regarding what do you think about when you heard health data ecosystems. And actually the results are very informative because there is not a clear winner, and there is a certain degree of frankness in their answers, because some of you replied that it's a mess, so it made sense to explore it further, and we had excellent speakers bringing key messages, and among them we have highlighted the concept of fair data maturity cycle, combining building trust, increasing data sharing and use, and unlocking value. Also, it was interesting the idea that Sarah brought up on the right mindset and challenging the traditional short-term quick wins. So just thinking more in the long term and developing partnerships. Also from Michael, the idea of seeing the path together, so combining different views based on data, particularly for preventing chronic disease, in this case, chronic kidney disease. From other sectors, we also learned, and one of the elements was raised by Oscar, saying that the resistance is rooted in cultural issues, not technical, and this is something really relevant from the manufacturing sector. And finally, Oliver bringing the experience from the healthcare sector and reinforce the idea of cultural barriers as the most difficult to overcome, but also pointed out a very critical point, that is that there is no real incentives, and probably here he was referring to financial incentives in the system to change towards outcomes of value-based care, which is one of the triggers of health data ecosystems. So very insightful views from this first session on developing health data ecosystems that finalized with this nice metaphor of the garden. So it looks like the garden is the winner of the life poll with the different actors in the system, and the sun, the gardener, the rain, the biodiversity, fertilizers. But and this was also another richness of the session, that through the chat, some of you said, and where is the patient? And the patient and the chair in the middle of the garden is the place to see the end user that is enjoying the garden, but also involved in the development of the data ecosystem. This ended up the session 2, and then we moved to digital therapeutics and mHealth. Over to you, Diane.
So each of our sessions had a different theme, and they were organized in different ways. Session 3 on digital therapeutics and mobile health, mHealth, was really a panel. Thanks, a great shout out to Andrew Freed from IBM, who really gave his and their as a company's support for that panel and session, and also several of EHTEL's projects, including the mHealth Hub. You can see on the slide are 4 speakers. You can also see Andrew, and you can see a couple of pullouts, top right, bottom left, a couple of key highlights that you've heard people talk about over these past couple of days. The work that's happening in Germany, for example, that holds today's European presidency, and particularly around moving digital solutions forward quickly and doing that with considerable changes, nevertheless, in the legal regulatory setting. And also down at your bottom left, you will see the work of digital therapeutics and the Digital Therapeutics Alliance, and really looking at what more than AI, more than artificial intelligence can help us with. Some key messages really around ecosystems, which I know we will come back to and is a huge theme at the present moment in time. The core of working on care, working with people, really scaling that up and expanding that. And we had a lovely example from Scotland, an app for people with diabetes, which started very locally, but really then grew and has been taken up in all sorts of places. This move to success, moving quickly, but moving carefully, and very exciting to see that there's this hub, the mHealth Hub, the Mobile Health Hub, which will really focus on how mobile health applications can help us. We will come back to that when we look at mental health and e-mental health, I think. Tino.
Yesterday ended with a session on virtual healthcare, and it was interesting to see. And also today we saw some charts that is showing how digital health or telemedicine has followed the curves of the pandemic, and at the same time, the reverse is also true for the face-to-face meetings. We had 2 speakers on this experience from Israel and from Portugal, and it was an interesting debate of if COVID-19 is truly a game changer for telemedicine, is circumstantial, or it will be sustained over time. And one nice quote from Dr. Otto was, patients are going to go where the convenience is. And there is some degree of agreement that even if the situation will reverse, telemedicine and digital health will remain, maybe not at the same level like in the peak of the pandemic, but it will remain. But there are some elements that are critical to consolidate this growth. And one of them is integrating solutions into the patient pathway, but also in the healthcare team practices. And this will support optimal care. And also hybridization, patient journey, and combining the digital touch points like we are doing with the human touch points in regular care. This ended yesterday's sessions, and today we started with very timely theme, European health data spaces, and it was one of the elements highlighted the idea of health as one of the key data spaces in the European health data space and the conversions in the cross-sectional personal data spaces. We have 4 speakers and with moderator, and the key ideas were around improving clinical decision support for patients and professionals as a priority for data reuse. From Denmark, we learned how the top-down, bottom-up approach combined has been successful for implementing digital health in the last, actually, decades. And this could be also applicable for the European health data space, and particularly for secondary use of data. We learned from EHTEL the federated learning concept that can be the way forward to overcome data silos, but this requires additional security to manage risk. And finally, we heard from Citra, from Marcus, that health data is now an urgent matter for Europe, and this will guide the European health data space as a priority, and this is the reason of the new joint action called TEDAS. And finally, remarking the growing volume of person-generated data that could be and will probably be an innovation driver in coming years. After this session, we had a break and we did the chair yoga, and we look for this that is not a highlight, but is a surprise. And it was a very nice surprise, actually. And this led us to the last session on mental health. Over to you, Diane.
That last session is so fresh in our minds, the wonderful messages of Mette, Marti, and of Eric, that I think I will leave people in peace and quiet to read those messages for ourselves. I fully expect that mental health, and particularly e-mental health, will really be on our mutual agendas in the years as we go forward.
Thank you.